Nice. That was Jakub and Michał with their e-mobility after sales package. And after that comes Mateusz Figaszewski. Great to have you. You are also an e-mobility guy because your official job description is?
A mobility development and market intelligence office director.
That sounds great to me, especially since I know that you've been with the company for almost, what?
Almost 2 decades. So I've been working for Solaris since 2003. And I would say that thanks to this long-term business experience in the public transport sector, I could observe over these years the transition which has changed in terms of solutions for public transport, especially in terms of zero-emission vehicles and offers which we can provide today to our customers.
That's for sure. I believe that the talk was about combustion engines 2 decades ago, and it was completely different.
Indeed, those days when I started my work in the bus industry, I remember very well these discussions about the challenges which were related to the transition from Euro 3 to Euro 4 emission norms related to diesel combustion engines. And today we are offering battery buses and hydrogen buses, which are fully zero-emission vehicles and which can operate 24/7. I think this is an amazing change which has happened.
It is. We love the e-mobility just for any vehicle, but with buses it becomes just especially attractive, particularly attractive, because it's so effective, right?
I think that as Solaris we are proving that since 2011, delivering our battery buses, that e-mobility can be deployed in a fantastic way in the public transport sector. Because the cities and the city transportation is something what we can plan in advance in terms of lines length, frequency of operations, infrastructure. Thanks to these factors, we are able today to provide the solutions which are fully reliable and fully operational every day.
Yeah, and I believe that with public transportation, you just have much more predictability, which is perfect for charging. And if you think of individual car users, you have this term of range anxiety. And I feel like if you are a bus operator, you don't have to be anxious about your range because you have everything in the schedule.
That's right. I think this is one of the largest advantages over passenger cars, that e-mobility in the public transport can be deployed in a more efficient way. I would say that the public transport environment is a great environment for using electric buses or hydrogen buses because we can predict a lot of things. And from the passenger point of view, you can use this public transport which is emission-free 24/7 every day.
That's a great advantage. And I'm curious about the debate that you've prepared, because you've invited representatives of transportation companies from around Europe.
Yes, that's right. So far we have contracted and delivered over 1,000 electric buses to 18 countries in Europe, to almost 100 cities. Today I have invited to our panel discussion representatives of Freiburg, Barcelona, Milano and Jaworzno. I would say they have a different experience of deploying electric buses, and I believe they will share with us their opinions and their views how make efficient e-mobility in the city.
Yeah, I really appreciate how you made the panel to be so diverse, because you have smaller and bigger cities. So this is going to be really exciting, and I'm really looking forward to the debate. So enjoy that.
Thank you, Maciej.
And thank you for hosting that, Mateusz.
Hello everyone watching Solaris Talks. Now we are going to start the first panel discussion, which is dedicated to battery buses. We have in our studio representatives of 2 cities which already start deploying and using battery buses in the daily operation. One of the cities has a very long experience in terms of mobility, while the second one is at the beginning of this path. Welcome to our studio, Mr. Josep Maria Armengol from TMB Barcelona, Director of Bus Technology. And welcome Stephan Bartosch, who is a board member at Freiburg bus operator. Welcome to our studio.
Thank you.
Okay. So I will start from the question to Mr. José María Armengol. You have pretty long experience as a city and as an operator in deploying electric buses. When did you start the first experience of using these vehicles?
Hello. Good morning. We start in 2015-14 with a SEUS project from the European Commission. This was a project, a demonstration with two buses, different brands. One was Solaris. And the idea of this project is, I think, was the first vehicles with opportunity charging, and was one of the first projects in electric vehicles in operation. Of course, we have nowadays 30 electric buses running in our bus lanes. And in total fleet is about 1,100.
You are meaning the total fleet. So we have 30 electric buses. Where they are mainly operating? Is it the city center, or use them in the lines which are going to the suburbs?
No, we operate in Barcelona in urban bus lanes. Only one bus routes goes to the airport. But all of them are in Barcelona city. In urban bus lanes, what means that our commercial speed is very, very low, and these effects will affect a lot in the design of these electric vehicles.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of charging technology, which option you choose for your electric buses? Is it depot charging, or you prefer opportunity charging in the city?
Electric vehicles is not to talk about electric vehicles, it's to talk about system we call electric system. And electric system means a lot of things: infrastructure, workshops, batteries, autonomy. Our idea is to be as flexible as the diesel vehicles, but this is impossible with electric vehicles. And then we have two possibilities, two modes of operation. The first mode is when we start in the SEUS project, is the opportunity charging, because we can operate during all the day, if it's possible, charging the vehicles in both terminals. In both terminals, we have two charging stations in each terminal. The problem of this configuration means that all the vehicles have to be in this bus lane. It's not possible to change to another bus lane without pantograph. But the idea is that this kind of vehicles can operate with very low capacity of batteries. The other mode of operation in electric vehicles is when we talk about the depot charging vehicles. The problem of these vehicles is that we have to put a lot of capacity of batteries, a lot of energy in the batteries. Why? Because as I explained before, in Barcelona, the consumption of the buses is very high, and more in summer with the air conditioning. And then it's quite difficult to have the vehicle with the batteries that we have today in operation during 16 hours, more than 16 hours, that we operate 18 hours. And then nowadays the batteries don't fulfill these expectations, or the capacity of the buses don't fulfill to be the vehicles on operation during this quantity of hours.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for sharing with us these experiences. And now I will ask Mr. Stephan Bartosch, who is representing the city, which I might say is at the beginning of this mobility road toward fully zero emission public transport. Could you tell us a bit more about the already experience which you have from deploying electric buses and the future plans?
Well, thank you very much. Well, we made our first step with the electric buses. Well, we are smaller than Barcelona, of course, but currently we have 2 electric buses in line operation. But it's I would say a long-term project. So we watch the market and the development of electric buses since years. And in 2016, we started with a feasibility study together with the Fraunhofer Institute IV in Dresden. And so in 2018, we ordered 2 electric buses and also the charging system. And since 2019, we testing the system. And since February 2020, so last year, we are in line operation. And up to today, we have driven and tested more than 140,000 kilometers. And we expect 10 articulated buses in November and 5 rigid buses in March next year.
You mentioned in your answer the term feasibility study, which you also presented today during one of the presentations. Could you tell us a bit more about this process, how you prepared as a bus operator to this change which is related to the battery buses?
Well, the first thing was to choose the best technology which fits best to our operations. So we have our time scheduling, we have our operation system, and we look together with the Fraunhofer Institute, what is the best way for Freiburg to use the electric buses in the best way. So from our side, we decided to use opportunity charger with pantograph, because this is the suitable solution for the Freiburger Verkehrs AG. The decision for this technology was made because the bus routes in Freiburg are mostly sub-via or cross connection lines for our light rail system. So I would say our 5 light rail lines with a length of about 44 kilometers form I would say the backbone of the urban mobility in Freiburg. And all bus lines ending or starting accordingly at the light rail network. And there we have also the transformer substations, the electricity. And so it is easy to decide to use opportunity charging. So we can use the break or layover times there for charging. And we can run, it's the same in Barcelona, run 24/7. 24 hours and 7 days, and we are running 19 hours per day our buses, and so we have dynamically charging, and the nightly conditioning or preconditioning and gentle charging of the vehicles with 80 kW takes place in the depot.
Thank you very much for that. And so could you share with our viewers of Solaris Talk, what were the main challenges in terms of mobility when you start deploying these first battery buses? Josep, what was the key challenge to make the mobility feasible in Barcelona?
The challenge with these difficulties to put in operation electric vehicles with this not flexibility. Our challenge, we are meaning for the next years, no?
For the next year, for the beginning and for the next years, yeah.
Well, we have started with these 30 vehicles. Our planning is for 2022, 24, 210 vehicles more, electrical ones, different sizes and different modes of operations, opportunity and night charging. But the most challenging is the autonomy of the batteries. I think with the overnight buses, probably we don't fulfill the time, the schedule of the buses operating, and our problem for these next years is what will happen with the buses when the battery life, when they arrive to the middle of the battery life. What will be the capacity of these buses, and what will do our manufacturers, Solaris, will adapt this new, how they modify the batteries to adapt to the operation that we don't know what will happen in 5 years with our batteries, because they are accepting one quantity of the energy charging in each operation, and these tests are not done in the past, of course. Yes, the challenge is quite important. We have a lot of fears, but I think is what we have to do in our society and in the mobility in the big cities. We have to put our buses in the most recent technology.
Thank you much for that. And Mr. Bartosch, and how it looks like from your perspective? What main challenges you find on this mobility road?
Well, I think the most challenging issue is to analyze at the beginning what I have told, which is the best fit electric bus and charging technology for our operations, because I think that's, in my opinion, the basic requirement to minimize further challenges. Yeah. Well, of course, we have to look or regard our time scheduling. Is there enough time in the break times to have enough time for charging? Have to change a little bit the time scheduling, of course, but our target is not to have more electric buses than we have today as diesel buses. So there is a challenge how to fix the time scheduling in combination with the possibilities of the electric buses to have enough break times during the layover times for charging. And of course, challenging for the future is what happened with the batteries, what is the lifetime, or how long can we use the batteries, when do we need to have the next generation of batteries? And that's also a thing we couldn't know, we have to test within the next years.
Thank you much for that. And last but not least, could you share with us very briefly what are your overall experience, I mean, specifically from the drivers and passengers? Do you have this kind of information from your electric buses?
Josep. Yes, we have this experience, this information from our passengers. They are very happy with the electric vehicles. We try to design the buses that they recognize the buses are new and electric. The information from our drivers is absolutely very, very good. It's very easy to drive them, and they adapt very, very well. In general, all the electric system is quite easy because you have more information from the control center. We have all the buses connected to the control center, and then the system is quite good. From the opposite side is that we need to connect all the buses to the control center. It's not only the information that we had in the past with the diesel buses, we know the localization, the location of the bus. Now we need more information, but more information is quite good for the complete system.
Thank you much. And Mr. Bartosch?
Well, in short, I would say it works. So seeing the technology, I would say the charging systems are in the meantime, I would say 0 parts, and the buses have sufficient availability. So our bus drivers like the electric buses, like to drive the electric buses, because it's not only the acceleration, it's less noisy. Also our passengers like the electric buses. And I think our drivers and also our passengers know that we reduce emissions by every driven kilometers in comparison with diesel-driven buses. And I think this is also the expectations of our passengers for the future local public transport. And that's also a reason why they like to use the electric buses. So perfect.
Thank you much. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for this very interesting inputs for our discussion about e-mobility. And now we're going to connect with representatives of another two cities which already have electric buses in their fleet. Thank you very much. We come back to you in a few seconds. Hello, everyone, once again. Welcome after the short break in our Solaris Talk studio. Now we are going to start the second part of our panel discussion about battery buses. We kindly welcome to our studio representatives of two cities, city of Jaworzno in Poland and Milano in Italy. Mr. Przemysław Sowa is a proxy of PKM Jaworzno, the bus operator in the city in the south of Poland, and Mr. Di Stasio is a manager of maintenance of the trolley bus fleet in ATM Milano, but recently also he's in charge for battery buses. Okay, welcome to our studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, we would like to continue our discussion about the battery buses deployment, what it means in terms of infrastructure in operation. So if you could tell us briefly, Mr. Sowa, about your experience as Jaworzno. When did you start a mobility transition in your city?
Well, we started quite long ago. We bought our first electric bus 6 years ago. It was 2015. And well, we wanted to gain some experience that time and somehow to prepare for future tenders. We wanted to gain some knowledge and to know what to require from future suppliers. And in 2017, we bought 22 electric buses. Last year, we bought additional 20 buses. So altogether, we have already 43 electric buses. And that's not our last word, because we have just signed a contract with Solaris for delivery additional six buses. So in close future, we will have 49 such buses altogether.
So maybe comparing to the entire field of Milano, it's not a very impressive number, but for Jaworzno, it means that having this number of electric buses, you are providing over 80% of all of the bus operations by electric buses. Am I right?
That's true. Of course, on working days, because during holidays, nearly every trip is operated by electric bus right now.
So this is very impressive. So if you could share with us, what does it mean in terms of public transport planning and in terms of infrastructure for you? What main challenges you faced in this transition?
Okay, it's quite complicated, frankly speaking. Previously, it was much easier, because it used to be enough just to have operational buses which were full tanked, and nowadays it is much more complicated. Well, first of all, we have to think about timetables, which should be carefully prepared. We need to have enough brakes at loops in order to recharge the buses correctly. Of course, sometimes there are problems because, for example, two buses should be charged at the same time. So we need to decide which buses should be charged, and it's necessary to have prepared staff for operating such buses. We need, of course, workshop employees which are prepared for proper balancing batteries and all the maintenance. But also we should have prepared dispatchers for such situations, because dispatchers all the time should have control over the buses. If something goes wrong, for example, during disruptions in traffic, the dispatchers should react. It's quite complicated anyway. It is possible to done it, and you know, nowadays there are some transport tasks in PKM Jaworzno that consists of that cover 400 kilometers daily. There are even such transport tasks that amount 430 kilometers maximum, as far as I remember.
So this we can convert to over 100,000 kilometers, if I'm correct, yeah, yearly.
Yes, we travel approximately 100,000 kilometers yearly. Yes.
I think this is very impressive, and partially this is the answer if the e-bus mobility is feasible. I think that Jaworzno is proving that every day. And how it is in Milano? You have recently over 100 electric buses, but before you start deploying electric buses, your main responsibilities were trolley buses. I think this is not a coincidence that right now the manager who was in charge for trolley buses now is also managing the fleet of battery buses. How it looks from your perspective?
In fact, ATM is a company that manages electric buses from more than 60 years. And ATM have the largest trolley buses fleet in Italy. And so the transition to electric buses is quite simple to accept the electric buses in ATM. We have the first experience almost 10 years ago, in 2013, with an experimental electric buses that we use in Milan. And then in 2017, we seen with your company the first agreement for the supply of 25 electric buses. And then in 2019, a second framework contract for another 250 electric buses. Now we have 133 electric buses in service. And we hope that until the end of this year, we have about 165 electric buses that we use in different lines in Milan. The framework contract is about, as I said before, 250 electric buses that we hope to have until 2023. Now we have 2 depots with these electric buses, and we should have added another depots in 2022. The ATM's challenge is to change all the internal combustion engine fleet until 2030 with 1,200 electric buses. It's a very difficult goal, but we try to achieve this result. The principal, the most issues about electric buses now is the charging infrastructure in the depots, because we convert our depots, our traditional diesel depot, to electric buses. Now we don't have a new full electric depots in Milan. We hope to have this until 2024. But now we converted our traditional diesel to electric buses. And so we have major infrastructural works in the depots, because we have to create the electrical substation, the cable ducts, and the charging columns that we have to install in these 2 and the next one depot. And this is a very difficult to implement in the depot with the two type of buses, diesel buses and electric buses, because we have to change our mindset to manage the electric buses. The second issue, in fact, is the reduction of overall parking at the depot, because we must to reduce the parking to take the electric buses, and consequently we have to reduce the spare buses, because we must have 10% of spare buses, but it's very difficult due to the typical service in the city of Milan. We have more accident, more traffic, and big efforts due not to the quality of the vehicle, but due to accidents, to not very good use of the vehicle in the city. Another issues is the energy demand that we need to recharge the battery, because we need almost 6 megawatt for 100 e-buses. And so we ask to our supplier in Italy a big amount of energy, and it's not very simple. Very simply for both bureaucratic problem and infrastructure problem. We have installed about 10 opportunity charge in the city to increase the autonomy of the buses, and we start this near our metropolitan station, because in this place we have the electrical supply, and this is more simple to install the opportunity charge. Another issues is, as I said before, the remodeling of the service, of the line service, according to the autonomy of the buses, because now the autonomy is around 160 kilometers per day. And because we used all diesel buses, we want more than 250 kilometers of autonomy, because our service is fitted to these kilometers. And so if we reduce the distance, we have to increase the shift, the machine and man shift during the day, because consequently we have an increase of logistic cost in the depots. We have to manage this problem to find the right way to the electric buses, to use the electric buses with the autonomy that we have nowadays. Different for the trolleybuses, we use trolleybuses 24 hours a day, and it's very different from electric buses. The problem is different. We must convert our maintenance workshop, because with the advent of the electric buses, compared to the diesel, most of the maintenance activities are carried out on the roof, and so it's necessary to adapt the workshop with lifelines, for example, or equipment to work. And
excuse me, was your experience from trolley buses somehow helpful in this change and training of the staff?
Yes, because the oldest trolley buses is like like diesel buses. The equipment was under the vehicle because we don't have the lower floor. We don't have the lower floor in the oldest buses, in the old trolley buses. With the trolley buses, we have, in fact, in these depots, in Molise depots, we have many lifelines to work on the roof, and different equipment or to work, and the lift, for example, to take the equipment, the power equipment from the roof to change, for example, change them or to maintenance them. And this experience we used in the other depots today. We have an experience with hydrogen buses, for example, and in this case, the equipment is on the roof of the vehicle.
Okay, thank you very much. This is very, very complex, let's say, approach to the mobility by ATM Milano. I think this is your aim and target. It's very ambitious, but very impressive at the same time to achieve this fully zero emission fleet in 2030. So not so long from looking from today's perspective. Yeah, but so thank you for that. I would like to ask you now about, let's say, your main, let's say, advice or hints to those cities and those viewers of our conference who are already at the moment at the beginning of this zero emission transition. So they are thinking today about choosing between the battery buses, maybe hydrogen buses or trolley buses. What would you recommend them to make this transition successful, yeah, from your perspective, having this long-term experience in deploying mobility? Mr. Sowa, what would you recommend on the planning phase to avoid, let's say, the main challenges which you faced?
I think that it is much easier nowadays than it was before, because there are lots of really good examples of happy transitions from diesel buses to electric ones. As usual, leaders have it more complicated than followers. But what would I recommend? I would recommend just to travel to different places, to different depots, and observing how it looks like in different places. There are really lots of companies which have lots of interesting experiences on this field. But of course, like every investment, this one also should be carefully planned before. First of all, it is necessary to think about the chargers, where they should be installed. Of course, it is difficult to install chargers, opportunity chargers in the city due to all the, let's say, administrative hassle, as we can say. But from point of view, efficiency of timetables is a really good solution. If you want to have really good timetables and to flexible operate the buses, it's nice to have such opportunity charging possibility. Of course, batteries are important. Thinking of batteries because it's important to think about, in my opinion, longer distances to travel. It is important to prepare staff for electric buses as well. And as I told you previously, not only workshop staff, but also dispatchers. Dispatchers should be able to react properly in disruption, in execution of timetables. Well, there are really many things of which such companies should think, but it's, as I told you, it is possible. It is possible to observe many other good examples and, well, somehow to follow them.
Thank you much for that. And Mr. Di Stasio, what would be, in your opinion, key factors which can make this mobility transition successful?
Yes, we think that from a technical and end user point of view, to achieve all electrical, an effective solution of electrical public transport, we ask for autonomy of the vehicle. We ask for a minimum range of 250 kilometers a day per day. At the same transport capacity. In this sense, we hope that the battery technologies increase in this year to achieve this result.
Thank you very much for your very valuable contribution to our discussion about mobility. As we could hear, there are still a lot of challenges, but on the other hand, you are proving that this is possible to make this mobility happening in your cities every day on the larger and larger scale every year. So thank you very much for your participation in your discussion. So as you could hear, there are some challenges and requirements put by our customers, but as you could hear also in the presentation, the first part of our Solaris Talks conference, we are continuously developing our offer in terms of battery capacity, in terms of charging, to be able to answer these needs or even be in front of the expectations of our customers and the market. And I think on behalf of the cities which we hosted today in our studio, I can kindly invite you to visit these cities to take a look how it looks like from the depot perspective, but not only in Barcelona, Freiburg, Jaworzno or Milano, but you are very kindly welcome to visit any of over 100 cities where Solaris has already delivered battery buses to take a look how the mobility looks in practice. So thank you very much, and right now I'll give voice back to Maciej.
Thank you very much, Mateusz. That was Mateusz Figaszewski with his debate about electric buses. If you're interested in our hydrogen buses, then you sure should not miss his debate, which will be later during the day, and it will be about hydrogen buses. And then at 2 p.m., we are here with Peter Hinson, our keynote speaker, who's a renowned speaker, author, and serial entrepreneur. He's also a leader on radical innovation, which is something that is really useful nowadays. He lectures at London Business School in the UK and the MIT in Boston. And now we'd like you to take some time with our coffee break, but we're not leaving you alone because we actually have prepared something extra for that. And it is our special experience and our online experience with Mr. Leandro, who comes from Bogota, Colombia. He is an expert when it comes to coffee making. And so he will teach you what's the difference between good coffee and cheap coffee. But he also is a person that you will enjoy meeting and just enjoying a great cup of coffee with. And so please enjoy this time. And then we will be back at 2 p.m. here.